Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Production Tide. Bankrupt joins again by Fluff, as today we are going over U7 Gohan from the newest set, Perfect Combination, taking on set 14 Gohan, which is actually the U7 Gohan, which is being piloted by Steve. Steve couldn't join us today, but hey, we're going to get through this one way or another. Always, there's buttons. Feel free to click them, they're there for a reason, but let's get into it. What's up, Fluff?
What's going on, everybody? And I think Steve has been on the channel enough with this deck. I think everyone knows what the deck does. He's exceptionally good piloting the deck, so it's always a little bit of a threat.
And I will say, Steve has added the new Frieza to his deck. I think he only has this a one of right now. But when we had this match, it was definitely after the new erratas to both the U7 leader in this case and also that Frieza card. So we do play these in the correct way in this match.
Yeah, that Frieza's so good. Even after the errata, the Frieza is really transformative. It has just an amazing effect. It's just an all-around solid card for U7 builds. I don't have any in my deck, just because we don't have any of the promos. But going over loosely what this U7 deck wants to do, this U7 deck is a combo-based deck, kind of like the red U7 Gohan, where when you combo a U7, you draw, then most of the U7 cards have an effect that as long as you have a card in your combo area, when it's charged to the Z energy, you get to draw a card.
And for clarifications, for those who haven't had a chance to check the new rules yet, or at least haven't seen this on Facebook, the way it actually works, and actually, funny enough, I think in the match you were asking Jimmy about the order of operations. So you combo. Okay, cool, in combo. What happens here is that the first card will then be placed into the Z energy area. It checks for the combo area, which there's a U7 still there, and then the rest of the cards will then fall to the drop, but this leader's permanent allows you to place them into your Z energy instead. When those go there, there's no cards in the combo area, so they do not get the draws.
That's correct. Yeah, it's all about proper sequencing for that particular turn. In the turn, sequencing so that you don't take additional damage, so that you don't overextend, because you want to maximize without sacrificing your hand advantage. This deck doesn't build a gigantic type of hand under normal circumstances, but you'll see why it does here in a minute.
I would say there's certain cards that you've added on, which I don't know are how common in other builds. I feel like it might be just because it's a good engine, but you are playing the Goku from the Majin Vegeta deck.
Yeah, Jimmy says it's trash. In this deck, it worked out very well for me.
Yeah,
or in this particular matchup.
And what benefits for you is this fact that card, if you have a Vegeta on board, which here's a Vegeta, it will reset the beginning of your opponent's main phase, I think it is. But not only that, when it's switched to rest mode by your leader's skill, it's an additional draw. So pretty much you're activating man on the leader to draw 2 cards.
Yeah. And I wish the deck had more Vegeta targets in it. I had thought about playing the Majin Vegeta from the starter deck, the Servant card, just to have another Vegeta name in the deck, but I ended up not being able to find room for it, just with how big the U7 engine itself kind of needs to be at a point to make the deck function appropriately.
And with all the new yellow stuff coming out, not just for this deck in general, but just what yellow does best, tapping cards down. For U7, this one drop Gohan is kind of like it's the best card for the whole deck. It allows you to get the extra draw out of it, and you be able to switch to rest mode and immediately go into it afterwards. Must have really hurt for Steve.
Yeah, that it probably did disrupt his plan a little bit, because you see he reestablishes that Gohan 3 or 4 times over the course of this match. It just became a lightning rod for me to focus my attacks into while not putting pressure against his lead. If that weren't there, I would have probably pressured the lead a little bit harder with, say, those Vegetas. He does a pretty good job throughout this match of keeping that Vegeta in check. of just swinging into it and making the combos higher than I'm comfortable with trying to combo to save it. So the Vegeta is a 20k base. I think he swings Unison into the Vegeta, and I think he makes this combo 31, 30 or 31, which would have been 3 cards out of my hand to save the Vegeta, and I just let it go.
Yeah, right there alone is 30. And I think
Yeah.
there is a spirit boost for the leader if he wants to proc it. He can. Not just 30, which would be 3 cards for you if you wanted to get out of it.
Yeah. So I just decided to let him have it. The Vegeta kind of did its thing. It took care of the Gohan. He put another Gohan in rest mode, so I'm going to get to pressure against this Gohan on my 3rd turn coming in. Here you see him comboing defensively. One of the things that Jimmy and I discussed with this deck is the idea that the Krillin super combos aren't the best combo options for the deck, just because like it can be tricky to get down to 4 life because you do combo so intensively with this deck setting up your Z energy. It can be tricky to get down to 4 to turn on those combos. Like I think I have 3 super combos in my hand at this point and I can't use any of them.
Now, there is the Z extra card. Kamehameha Omen of Victory, I think it is. I think that's the one that has the activate main that you could
To take 2 life
and put it into your Z energy.
Yeah. The other option, and probably the better option, is there's a card out of the Slug deck that is a super combo.
That's the one Jimmy uses, I think.
Yeah. I think you have to have 2 or 3 Z energy, and then they become live. And you'll see, I get up to like 12 Z energy in this match or something like that.
Here we see Vegeta once again. I was going to ask, I think the reason why, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you didn't want to activate Blocker, A, right now, you're not really in threat range for it to be an issue, and B, it is how you're drawing an extra card every turn.
Yeah, that Goku to me, the blocker is completely incidental for me. I don't really rely on that Goku for defense. I don't want that Goku being an attack target at any point. If my opponent can blow it up by skill, they can blow it up by skill, or neg it out or anything like that. But I don't want to use that Goku for blocker unless it's a game-threatening swing.
So here, you've cleared out the Gohan. You still got Vegeta standing, and you set your leader swing, which you could apply 2 different pressures to his Unison if you wanted to start controlling that. He is sitting at 5 life, which means we've already seen him use super combos. He's good where he needs to be, so if you don't go for his life, it doesn't hurt him. So yeah.
I've already put 2 swings into his Gohan this turn. So I don't want to put a ton into that Unison. I just want to be able to keep him from cracking the -4 and getting the double strike. So I'll put the leader swing into it. This deck, you don't have to swing with the lead. And it's probably more suggested that you use the leader's effect to tap itself to get the draw. But because I'm running this Goku, I get the additional draw out of that.
And Steve is seeing every single one of these Gohans, which is good for him.
Yeah. It's enabling him to just generate, which is going to make it more difficult for me to play through, which is where this Gohan deck's strength is. It on the weak end of it, like its weakness is it doesn't have a ton of pressure, especially in the way that Steve has it built. It's just not a very pressured deck. It just tends to go big on the swings, but it doesn't go wide and aggressive.
I will say him teching in. He's had it for a while, but he added the 1-drop Friezas. I don't know who or where he either saw it on someone else's YouTube or he was told by someone, but they swap into these 3-drops. So it's pretty much playing the 3-drop for free, which is really good.
Yeah. I was very surprised when he did that. We had talked a little bit about him including those freezes in this list, and I actually like the synergy of being able to just tutor out that 3-drop Frieza, which I think in other circumstances costs you 3 energy to get the negative 25k. And in this situation, it only cost him 1 in a swap. So really, the only thing that he's risking is a couple counterplay windows. And it's a double strike, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Here, I go on ahead and spend the power of a Super Saiyan to tap his Gohan because I know I'm going to use that Gohan to
It,
pressure.
it saved you an attack potentially from here, actually, because he could have tapped it himself just to get these 2 attacks in.
Yeah. And you'll see Steve does attempt to restand it based on the card's original ruling. And when I brought it up to him, he was like, oh, that's right. They changed the way this works. Because it used to say rest mode up to 1 Universe 7 card, where now it says rest 1 Universe 7 card. So I go in and take that. This next turn is going to be a pretty big turn for me based on the quality of cards that are in my hand. I know it's going to be a very energy intensive turn. So I have to sequence correctly and hope that he doesn't have big negates. And we'll talk about in this turn there are decisions. There's one minor mistake that happens in this turn, but there's one decision in this turn that completely changes the result of this game. Um, and it's not a misplay. It's more of a missequencing on one of our parts. Here I go on ahead and establish the Z extra card. And this is the Z extra card. I can't remember what it's called. I'm sorry. I'm not
This
super familiar with the
this is the
deck.
Kamehameha Omen of Victory we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah. But basically, if you deal a damage by effect or life to Z energy by effect to your opponent, you can burn the Z extra card to deal an additional damage.
And for those who aren't familiar with U7 100%, both the 4-drop and the 6-drop Gokus can do that. The only difference is that the 4-drop Goku, your opponent places a card from their hand into their life and then sends one of their life into the warp, into the Z energy. So it's kind of like a trade, and then you burn that gives them additional damage. But the 6-drops for every 5 Universe 7 cards in. No, is it every 5 Universe 7 or just
It's
5
it's
cards?
it's every 5 cards in your Z energy.
It'll burn 1 damage, so it can potentially, depends on where you're at in the game, 2, maybe even 3 if you're lucky, and then this card will burn an additional 1. Now, to get that effect on the 6-drop, it is a pay 1 yellow. I don't remember if it's pay 1 yellow on the 4-drop. I think it is as well, though. I might be wrong.
No, I don't think so. I think on the yellow one, it's on play. I think on the 4-drop, it's an on play auto. When you play it, your opponent takes a damage and then places 1 card in their hand. I believe it might be contingent destroying the on destroying a battle card
No,
as well.
sorry, the 4-drop is when it switched to rest mode by the leader skill.
Gotcha. Okay, I knew there was a condition to it. This was unexpected. Him throwing this blocker out there. This kind of messes with the sequencing of my turn a little bit. Like normally, I would have just went on ahead and swung with this battle card, but now I'm going to play this Goku, so I get to tap down the blocker, and I'm going to deal this damage first instead of dealing the double strike
Mm-hmm.
first.
So here you're swinging into the and you get a little ahead of yourself because he activated King Vegeta's imposing presence, I think it is. So you're like, okay, cool, activate main, but you guys are still in battle. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna combo up now. And you are attacking the Gohan, which is the weakest card on his board, and you're trying to shoot for that auto. When opponent's battle cards KO by this card's attack, you can burn life.
Yeah, yeah. And thankfully, Wolfing Fist is not for turn; it's just for battle. So I don't lose.
That's
He
what you meant.
enacted,
Sorry, I got it backwards.
yeah, yeah. So I was able to use the card's auto to restand itself by sacrificing 3Z energy, which is a really nice exchange. And I still had, even after that, I still had 11 or 12Z energy built up to deal 2 damage to his Z life. And then I burned the extra card to deal a third, leaving him at 2 with me with a double striker on the
Now
field.
we are missing right here. There is a misplay. Fluff did not
Yeah.
tap his last yellow energy for that auto. That is something that needs to be done. I will say,
Yeah.
without revealing what happens in this game, that energy does not matter.
Yeah. And this coming up is going to be the deciding factor. You can see it in Steve's hand now. He's had the secret rare pan in his hand, and instead of playing it earlier in the turn, he plays it now. He should have played it on the Goku's. That way I couldn't attack with battle cards for the rest of the turn. And then he gets into his next turn with a 40k on field, with a double strike Frieza on the field, and all of his energy open to do whatever he needs to do.
So Goku is sitting at 30k. Naturally, you've bumped it up by not only by 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. And I missed the secret wrestler. 65 is where you're actually sitting at, if I recall correctly. And
Yeah.
Steve goes to 20. Just waiting for him to do all his autos.
Yeah.
30. 40, 35, 30. Is that puts him at...
Puts him at 55, I believe.
Actually, that puts him at 65.
So equaling then. Yeah. Yeah. So, I had never played this deck before. Haven't had a lot of time to do building in Dragon Ball. I've actually been looking into another TCG really heavily here recently, so I haven't put a ton of energy or effort into Dragon Ball as a product and as a game. So I think this is okay for its first showing. I did forget the pay one on the Goku, but other than that, I was really pleasantly surprised how this deck performs. I think this deck is going to lose hard to people who are prepared for it, because it does kind of have like a linear wants to do this to close the game type out of way. It was thought that Bursting Rage was the best secret rare for this deck. Then they changed Bursting Rage. So now the question is with the changes to Bursting Rage, or the rule clarifications to Bursting Rage, is it still better than the Victory Strike secret rare or Gohan Piccolo?
Well, and find out, let us know in the comment. And like always, thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Later.